What's up, guys? Rob from Legit Brand News Gaming here, bringing you another Tiercember video. Today we're going to be going over the games that I played for the first time in 2024. I've got my cup of tea beside me cooling down, which I may take some sips out of at some point. But yeah, these are the games that I played and beaten, or just played enough if they're the type of game that you don't really beat necessarily in 2024. And you see that some of these are pre-sorted already because these are games that I already went over in the tier list video I did for Extra Life this year. So I will just briefly go ahead and give you my opinions on these. If you want like the more in-depth opinions, if you go to the Extra Life 2024 highlights in the food break / tier list block, yeah, I went over these games already because I did my tier list of all the older games I had gone back to play for the first time. So without further ado, let's get into this. So Fallout New Vegas, I'm putting in A tier. It's a really good game. I enjoyed it a lot. There were a couple of things I think that maybe held it back from being S tier. That being kind of the unforgiving nature of the Wasteland, in the sense that I get it, it's supposed to be a post-apocalyptic game. The reality is, in a post-apocalyptic scenario, going around the Wasteland would be incredibly dangerous, but it also made it a little frustrating because, you know, the point of an RPG is to explore and see new things, and if you're getting absolutely, you know, curb stomped every time you step foot outside of a city, it can get a little frustrating at times and kind of discourage you from exploring. Is it realistic? Yes, and I know that some people will like that about it. To me, it made it a little bit more frustrating than it needed to be because I want to go find side quests, I want to go explore, I want to go find new towns, but if I'm dying every time I'm on the road, it's a little frustrating. I think the level curving could have used some work. You know, I played the game for about 20-ish hours, and at that point I was like, okay, like I've played, you know, for 20 hours, like I think that's good for my first run. I kind of want to beat it, and so maybe I can do another run after. And I got absolutely curb stomped at the final battle, and it took me like 18 tries to do, which, yeah, okay, skill issue, I get it, all that stuff. But a couple of things that held it back from being S, but it is a very good game and I would recommend it. Star Wars Empire at War, a lot of fun, good RTS. Of course, it suffers from maybe some questionable unit pathing sometimes because, you know, it's an older game. And the land battles can get a little repetitive sometimes. The space battles can be a bit repetitive too, but overall I think it's a very, very fun game and it's worth trying. Spyro 2, put in B tier. It's fun. It has its moments. I wouldn't call it great, and I'm going to kind of piggyback this off of the Spyro 3, where by the time I'm finishing Spyro 3, the collect-a-thon nature of the game had kind of worn thin a little bit, and I was less enthusiastic about trying to maybe find all this stuff that I needed to find, and it didn't innovate enough to really excite me that much, which is why Spyro 2 is in B, and in C, Spyro 3, because the other characters you play in Spyro 3, their missions, quite frankly, were annoying and just sucked. So Spyro 3 is not a bad game, it's just kind of mid. And Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered, I went on a gigantic rant about that in the Extra Life tier list. So I would recommend going there for my thoughts, but the TLDR, Connor is a huge, huge miss for a character. He had so much potential in his story. You could have done some really interesting ideas with his story and about, you know, how the Native Americans were basically used and abused as tools of war on both sides, who were conscripting them into their armies for the revolution. And they really didn't stand anything to gain after the war, but instead Connor just kind of became this really whiny, really annoying, just complaining all the time character who's, no hate on their voice actor, I'm sure they've done fantastic work, but voice acting was just not good for him. I just didn't believe him really at any point. in terms of the emotion he was projecting. So there's other things wrong with the game, but I think my number one complaint is Connor. Huge miss, very disappointing. So if you want my full thoughts on that, like I said, and if full thoughts on any of those games, go to the Extra Life tier list. So we're going to start now here, and I'm just going to do them in order in which they appear down here. I don't really remember the order in which I played these, except for the Yakuza ones. Obviously, I remember the order, but this is actually the one I've played most recently, Fate Extella Link. No, thank you. We're not going to listen to Glove World here. And I'm going to put Extella Link in S tier. I'm having a lot of fun with the game. Yes, it is just a hack and slash, really, but they did a lot of really, really good things in streamlining the game experience from Fate Extella. There's still, your RPG elements and your visual novel elements. There's still plenty of talking and stuff to do, but they streamlined it to the point where I don't feel like I'm sitting for like 20 minutes each time in between missions. It's not like Fate Extella where you would literally be, excuse me, sorry, I just ate breakfast. You're not sitting for like 30 minutes in between missions just reading and listening to voice acting. So you still get a story, but you don't sit here bored. Not that bored necessarily, because the story in Fate Extella was good, but like I wanted to play the game, and signing up for 30 minutes of cutscenes in between each mission, not even just like each major mission, just each mission was not something I was thrilled about. But yeah, a lot of cool characters, some newcomers, some old returning characters. The Noble Phantasm bar works a lot better in Extella Link than trying to find the 3 pieces of the NP circuitry in Extella, because you could actually like use multiple Noble Phantasms in a battle in Extella Link, and then see everyone's a lot easier instead of having to like run around for those things. The characters are cool. The story, it's kind of just, I would say it's okay. It's nothing like super compelling, but it's interesting at least. Yeah, I think that's about it. There's not like a ton to really say other than it's just simply like kind of mindless fun hack and slash. And I'm still working through all the extra missions in that game currently. So yeah, that's going to be it for Extella Link. I'm going to save Yakuza for the end because I do remember the order in which I played these, obviously. So we will move on here. Sorry for the cuts. I don't know why my nose is acting up, and I've got a runny nose right now, but another Crab's Treasure. I'm going to put this in B tier. With the disclaimer that I am not a Souls-like game player at all. I picked this game up because it seemed cute, it seemed fun, and I wanted to play it for Extra Life this year. And I've never played a Souls-like game before, and I know this is like baby's first Souls-like, very much not the same difficulty level as other Souls-likes. And I think that ultimately ended up being a good thing for me because I don't think I'm much of a Souls-like gamer, I'm going to be honest with you. I just got too frustrated at points with certain things in this game that were maybe not done the best in terms of the in-between stuff. In between boss fights was very frustrating in a lot of ways. Questionable like stage geometry, like you'd think you would have landed a jump only just to fall through a crack in like a pier or something. You slide off of things sometimes. The camera was very questionable at points. Yeah, just stuff like that, I think, was really frustrating. Long periods without checkpoints. Again, I know it's a Souls-like game. It's supposed to be difficult, and that's part of it. But it was just so frustrating to get like 10 minutes into a level and then die and have to go do all of that all over again. And so that's totally a personal thing. If you're a Souls-like gamer, you'll probably enjoy that difficulty element. I personally just found it really frustrating. That's not to say all the things about this game are bad. The combat, when you get into like boss fights for most of it, is very, very fun. There's a lot of really cool things you can do with the boss fights. The skill tree is pretty interesting. There are kind of like, I think, objectively better skills than others, but that and like the setting, you know, the characters, it's fun, it's cute. There's some really cool things you can do with like finding different shells and all that. So it's fun. If you enjoy Souls-like games, I think you'll enjoy Another Crab's Treasure. It's a good game. I'm just putting it not in A or S because I found it very frustrating because I guess I just suck at video games. I guess is kind of the ultimate lesson here. Excuse me, I'm going to take a sip of my my tea. All right. Going to move on here. Ghostbusters, the video game. I'm going to put this in B. I like this game a lot. I really do. It's a lot of fun. I love Ghostbusters. But I will say the game is a little, not bare bones, but it can be slightly repetitive. They don't do a ton to really mix up a lot of the, like the level design and stuff in between levels. And some of the levels are just ridiculous. That Stone Angel fight is a large part of the reason why this game is not an A. That fight is so poorly designed. I genuinely want names. Like, I want to know who did that Stone Angel fight so that I can write a strongly worded letter and then not send it because that's ridiculous and why would you ever do that? But yeah, I mean, not getting to drive Ecto 1 also super disappointing. I really wanted to drive the car. As you heard me say in that Let's Play multiple times, I really wanted to drive the car and we didn't. And some of the levels can be a bit frustrating. So like overall, it's a good game. I wouldn't say it's fantastic, but it's also not bad. And if you like Ghostbusters, you'll have a good time. Helldivers 2, we are gonna put in A tier. Had you asked me about this when I was like 40-ish hours into the game, I probably would have said S tier. But the only thing that's holding this thing from being S tier is just kind of a lack of content currently. I have about 50 hours into the game, and I got up to the max level basically. I know there's like more levels now, but there's not a ton to really do. Just the missions are the same styles of missions, they just get harder. They've added some different mission types recently, which was nice. We played recently again and gave it another go around, but yeah, I think it was just a little too easy to get max level, especially in a game like this where you're basically, you know, you're telling people it's gonna be like a live service game. There's like a story that you're trying to tell, and then the global battle map is really kind of cool. Where like, you know, if you're focusing on the robots too much, the bugs are going to come and start taking over planets, and then you have to shift your focus and coordinate with your other players and really say like, hey guys, we need to really focus down these main objectives, or otherwise, you know, if we're all spread out, you know, we're going to have problems. But yeah, Helldivers is a lot of fun. It creates some really good clips. I actually probably should edit some of those clips together for a Helldiving is Hell video at some point, but I've just been so lazy. Yeah, really good. I would recommend it to play with friends specifically because I don't know how the experience is to play with randoms, but playing with friends is so much fun. Just be aware that like you might run out of content kind of quickly. But I got 50 hours out of the game, which is like pretty good, honestly, all things considered. Excuse me, I'm gonna take another sip of tea here. Okay, the Extra Life Let's Play for this year, Case the Golden Idol, going down in D tier, and this is 110% a me issue. I'm not gonna cap about it. This is a me problem. I'm not very good at these kind of games. I get frustrated very easily when it comes to games where I feel like I'm ramming my head into the wall. And there were several points, I'm sure you could hear it in my voice during the Let's Play, that I felt like I was ramming my head into the wall. And it can just get really frustrating for me trying to figure out all this stuff that I have to do in this game. The logic was... It was there. Like, I'm not going to say it was the game's fault, but there were certain puzzles, I think, where maybe they could have given me a little bit more of a hint. But I will say, if you like puzzle and logic games, this is a really, really good game. I think the interface is pretty cool. I think the way that you solve the puzzles is interesting and neat. I just my memory is just not good enough to remember all these character names you have to remember at points, and then who was doing what and all this other kind of stuff. And yeah, so I found it very frustrating. But if you like this kind of game, you will probably you'll probably have a good time. Like, you'll probably have a very good time, all things considered. So we're gonna leave that in D tier. And finally, I'm going to take one last sip of tea before we get into the Yakuza series here. Okay, as you can see, I played 4 Yakuza games this year, and I still have 2 more to go. I still have to play 5 and 6 at some point, which I will be starting 5 after Extella Link is done. But yes, Kiwami 2, 3, and 4. Boy, do I love the Yakuza games so much. I really do. So let's get into this. Yakuza Kiwami. I'm going to put you in A tier. I'm gonna put you in A tier here. I think a lot of things about this game are really cool. I think I enjoy the engine they used for Kiwami and 0 more than the engine they used for Kiwami 2 going forward. I don't know. There's certain things that I enjoy about the engine, like kind of the freedom of movement it gives you and stuff like that. I know a lot of Yakuza fans will complain and say it kind of just turns into a button mash simulator with that engine, but Kiwami is really fun. There's an interesting story that they're telling here. I think the plot is one of the better plots throughout the Yakuza series. You know, spoiler alert, you know, if you haven't played this game yet, I am going to be spoiling some stuff from the Yakuza series from here on out. So if you don't want to see, or if you don't want to hear spoilers, just simply mute the video. But yeah, seeing the character development from Nishiki from 0 to Kiwami, it is very interesting. You know, him just kind of snapping and going crazy after everything that happened to him with his sister and all that. You know, and getting to meet Haruka for the first time as Kiryu really sets that whole plot in motion. And yeah, I just think overall it's a lot of fun. The side quests are, you know, they're good. They're about as good as ever in Yakuza. I will say, you know, the unfortunate thing is because going from 0 to Kiwami, a lot of the side quests turn into just beat 'em ups, obviously. Whereas the side quests in later games tend to be a little bit more like interesting and funny kind of story stuff, like, you know, the dominatrix you know, sub story from 0, or trying to think of like, oh, the whole like cult thing with Majima in Yakuza 0. Just like more interesting than just go here, punch face, and side quest type stuff, you know. So yeah, that's Kiwami. Kiwami 2 is better than Kiwami 1. Kiwami 1 also has some bosses that are really annoying, by the way, that just spam dodge and block. And the problem with the block spam, and this comes up again in Yakuza 3, is that when your enemies are spamming block, you know, the way to get around that is a grab. You know, grab gets through block. But some enemies you can't grab straight up at all. And so it gets very frustrating at times. But Kiwami 2, you know, the engine is different, but once you get used to it, it's solid. It's pretty solid. I think the plot for this one is a little bit maybe looser than the plot for Kiwami 1, but I think the game overall has a little bit more variety to it. Of course, it's a newer game, so like some things are polished. The side quests are fun. Yeah, just the whole like plot with dragging Kiryu back in, and this is gonna come up again where it's like, obviously I haven't played 5 and 6 yet, so I don't know, but I'm just like, how many times can we keep dragging Kiryu into this shit before he's just like, I don't care anymore, I think overall 2 is just a slightly better game than Kiwami 1. It's not like crazy or anything. I think I gave Kiwami a 7.5 and Kiwami 2 an 8. So just some slight upgrades on things, some slight tweaks. I will say that one thing I wish about the engine that 2 uses is that your heat actions, they don't feel like they pack as much punch. I think like the heat actions in 0 feel like whenever you hit that button, you're basically killing somebody. Not in terms of like knocking their health down, but like just the oomph that they give. Whereas the heat actions kind of feel a little bit lackluster in the engine that 2 uses, but it's still a really good game. I would highly recommend it. Oh, hold on, I have to cough here. Give me 1 sec, guys. Oh yeah, and the Man in Black can like absolutely go fuck itself. Yakuza 3. Hell yeah, love me some Yakuza 3. Big fan of Yakuza 3. I know, Blockuza, I get it. Yeah. But once you get used to that and you start to learn how to play the game, it's a lot of fun. I think this probably has the most cohesive storyline of the 4 that I played this year. And the new location, Okinawa, is really cool, adding a little bit more of a flair than, Kamurocho, which you've been in for, at this point, if you've played 0, you had been in Kamurocho for 3 games already. It's definitely worth playing. I will say if you're not a fan of the engine and you don't really grow to like understand it, it will be a very frustrating experience, I think. But if you can understand the fight engine and kind of what the game wants you to do, it's worth playing. I think by the end of it, it was one of the more satisfying Yakuza games I had played to date, where I was like, oh, okay, like I get it. I understand the engine. I see what's happening here. Yeah, I understand what we're trying to go for here. And like I said, the plot being as kind of concise and cohesive as it is really neat. And man, you get some of the best cutscenes in this game. Like, oh god, when Riki dies, Rikiyama I think was his name. Oh my god, I almost cried. I felt so bad for Kiryu when he was just like, not again. I can't lose somebody again. God, my heart. Such a good scene. So, yeah, new location, cool new characters, great game. And Yakuza 4, second S tier of the year. I love this game a lot. Adding the new characters is really cool. Akiyama and Tanimura are great new main characters that give you a variety of fighting styles. I didn't really care for Saishima's fighting style that much, nor did I particularly care about his story, really. I was just kind of like, whatever about it. But Akiyama and Tanimura are really, really cool MCs. I love the different like personalities they bring into the storyline. I will say the plot is a little contrived at certain points. Like, there's a lot of like moments where somebody gets shot in the chest and you're just like, yeah, they're not dead and they're going to come back and fuck somebody up. And they do. I wish there was less of that kind of jumping the shark type plot contrivances. It would be nice if they kind of like tighten that up a little bit. And also like, Kiryu didn't really need to get involved. Like, the hook for Kiryu in Kiwami games, I'm very curious. Like I said, I haven't played 5 yet. I'm really curious as to where they go. Because here it's like, yeah, he's still young. It's his blood brother. He needs to stop him from going crazy. Here it's like, what's his face gets shot in the beginning. I can see his face. Damn. I can't remember who it is, but yeah, it's like, you know, the chairman that he was with gets shot in the beginning, and he realizes, you know, the Tojo clan is gonna like explode basically, and so okay, I need to get involved. This one, it's like my orphanage is under threat, so I need to get involved because that's all I care about is my orphanage and my kids at this point. This one didn't have as good of a hook. It's like Saejima just washes up and Kiryu's like, well, I need to go save the Tojo clan because it's the only evidence guys like us ever existed. Which isn't true, because you have all these kids that are like, you're the best person who ever existed and I love you, Kiryu. That's the evidence that you existed. So I will say the hook for Kiryu is the weakest in this game. A little bit contrived, but the story is great. The characters are a lot of fun. The only thing that holds this game back is baton enemies are a complete nuisance, and the ending boss rush was awesome, except that Munakata fight was absolutely horrible. I don't know why it would give us all these cool one-on-ones and then give us that fucking fight with all these cops running around bashing your head in while you're trying to fight Munakata, or Munakata, however you say it, I don't remember. Just, why would you do that? Oh my god, that fight sucked. That fight sucked. That fight sucked. I was so mad at that fight. Don't do that. Don't do that to gamers. But, yeah. That's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you're enjoying these tier lists. If you have any ideas for tier lists I should do, let me know down in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think of my tier list. If you played any of these games, let me know your thoughts. And yeah, I will catch you guys again next time.